This is the story of King Baba, Sultan of Shesari, Keeper of Stars. He's from another dimension, another planet, in another universe, and he was forged from a spark of a star, a dying star, and another type of being. I'm not sure. It gives the vibes of a shapeshifter reptilian vibe and half angel. Well, in this dimension, angels are stars. They call it what we consider angels stars, but they have the same, very similar roles. And so he is both dark and light, and he is a king, what we would equate to a sultan, because he's he embraces a lot of the dark parts of him, because his spark, his star mother, died, never really showed him that side of goodness, and so he has the ability to have it in him, and it comes through sometimes, but because he was raised more by the shape-shifting, is dominant in his life, he has a hard time sparking that light in his heart, so he has a dark heart. And so he's well known around this universe as a bully, as a maniacal, hedonistic, misogynistic narcissist, basically what we would consider a narcissist, very controlling, drunk off of power. He has a mother wound because his mother died, so he's angry at her. So he doesn't admit that to himself, though. He kind of feels like his mother failed him in showing him what love could be like, and so he really wants to be loved, but he doesn't believe that he can do it or that he's worthy of it. And so he really lets his dark side run rampant, but he lives on a planet that's very temperate. It's very like equator-ish, like it has some deserty parts, but at the same time it's lush. Like, it has sand, but it has a lot, not tropical though, it's very different than what I've seen on Earth. Very dense, alien-like vegetation, fauna, prana, or prawn fauna, I don't know, I don't know the words. And what else do I see? Spirit come through, tell me about King Baba. So I see his castle, which kind of reminds me of Solomon's castle, like a living garden castle. He wants it to be really opulent, just the classic egotistical, needs everything outside of him to look the way that he wants to be perceived. And so he's really known around the universe for being a star keeper, which everyone in this universe knows how hard it is to catch a star, which, like I said, is like an angel here. And the reason why it's hard to catch a star is because they're part of the Most High of this universe, which it's really like all the same. But these stars take an oath to be of service, and anyone who is able to convince or to show that they need help in any way, the empathy and service card come up for the star, and they have an obligation to be of service. So that is their job. That's their job. It makes them feel good. They never deny anyone who needs help. But often, every star that King Baba steals, essentially, or kidnaps, or whatever, he it gets harder because they get upgraded for the tactics and techniques, which means that King Baba has to shapeshift again, and that's why he's a shapeshifter. He can kind of mold himself to each star, kind of read them. And what's ironic is that he's reading them with the empathy that he got from his mother, from the spark of her star, but he doesn't realize that. So he thinks that this gift he has to have empathy, he doesn't equate that it is empathy. He thinks he's just pretending. But a star knows and can feel true empathy. So that's where it kind of becomes a cruel, controlling factor, where he gets off on the power of kind of fooling a star and catching them. Stars are androgynous, can be, but they're both male and female. So they can have energies that run like one way or the other. They don't have physical form, but they can be any form, but they aren't naturally having form. There's a spark and their frequency, but they can adjust themselves. I guess kind of like a shapeshifter, but in a different way, harnessing more of a higher vibration to do so. And then King Baba uses his shapeshifting abilities for his own selfish means. And so he's caught many stars over the years, and he keeps them kind of like concubines in the basement he has like this giant under the castle. His opulent castle is a dark, dank basement where they get the basic necessities, and he harvests their spark because it makes him feel powerful, gives him energy, gives him more ability to shapeshift and to take advantage of people, to divide and conquer. Basically makes him powerful. People or other beings fear him around this dimension or galaxy. They all know of King Baba and his evilness. And so one day he has a bunch of sparks, and he uses and abuses them and breadcrumbs them with thoughts of, coming up into the castle part and being with him. And he makes them feel like they're the one, to be the star of all stars, to spark the spark in his dark heart. And so it's kind of like when you get kidnapped and then you fall in love with your captor because it's just all you know, and he plays mind games with you, making you feel like, he does it because in order for the star to give up the spark, he has to warm their heart. So it's very ironic that he uses the empathy that he doesn't think he has to actually take from stars. And so he one day was very bored because he's insatiable. He doesn't have the ability to feel full, so he's always chasing the next thing. He had a trio of spiritual advisors that look really it kind of reminds me of Hercules, the cartoon, where the three witches were Hades' spiritual advisors, but they're like old and fallen apart and stuff because of all the dark magic they've done. And so they put glamour spells on themselves that they also harvest the energy from the stars. Kind of like leftovers when King Bubba's done. Like, you can have the scraps. And so he has 3 witchy advisors that are also shapeshifters. They don't have the half spark that he does, but they are shapeshifters of some kind that dabble in dark energy practices, low vibrational energy practices. And so sometimes they advise him, because they're so addicted to the energy of the stars, they often give him bad advice. And because he's half of a spark of a star, he does have a capacity to have empathy, which means you have a capacity to be, I guess, manipulated. So they often give him bad spiritual advice that keeps him in a dark place, because they benefit off of him never regaining the spark in his heart to change his ways. So they often give him bad advice to keep him low, in a low vibrational state, to want to keep stealing the stars. And so he's not aware of this. He thinks they're loyal advisors that he's had for a long time, that his father passed down to him, that have been in the family for a long time. And they also abuse the stars. They're very mean to them. And the living conditions aren't that great. They kind of just sit there in like this. It's kind of like, I don't want to say dungeon, because it is nicer than a dungeon, but it does have like minimal. It kind of reminds me of the labyrinth when they're in the oubliette or whatever, the little hole inside the labyrinth that's like dimly lit. And anyway, so they stay in there, and it was coming time for King Baba to catch another star. He was getting bored, and he was tired of the flavors of the month that breadcrumbs that he makes think that one day they'll be loved or treated better, and they never question it. They just keep thinking one day. And so one day he was off on another excursion to find a rare star, the rarest star of them all, a blue spark star, where this star was a high-ranking star that has special kind of photonic energy pulsating through it. Kind of reminds me of when Thor had to make a different hammer. He made that axe out of that. He had to ore that meteor or whatever. It had a different kind of like photonic energy. So he was really like obsessing about. It was kind of like a hunter and prey. He's the hunter, and he's like has to find this rare spark. And so his spiritual advisors, come up with a plan to catch this rare spark that they heard. They saw an energy signature 4, because something in that dimension required a high-ranking star to leave and have a mission, and he caught wind of it. So they made a plan to catch the star, this rare star, high-ranking star, and they used the star's empathy against it to play on her obligation of service. And the way they did that was he actually had to let his guard down, like completely, like more than with any star he ever has. And when he attempted to need help from the star, it's so ironic because he doesn't connect his ability to have this deep level of empathy. He thinks it's like pretending, but in order to have that level of empathy, you have to actually feel it. So he doesn't understand the feeling of it and what he thinks of it. What he thinks of it, he thinks he's pretending, but you can't really pretend empathy at that level. So it's very strange how he doesn't, it's like he can't accept that he's good or something, or has good in him. I think just because the way he was raised, it was like so indoctrinated in him just to be the way he is. It's just easier to be that way. So he's like, I can't possibly be good. So, but he had such a deep level of empathy for this high-ranking star that the star, even though she knew that this would be a big lesson for her, or that this, they're androgynous, but this one feels really feminine. She could feel that spark in him because he is half star. He is. So she took a chance, and what he thought was a victory for him in the star's eyes was really just, I'm just gonna see what happens, and I'm gonna follow this feeling I have, and I'm just gonna see what I can do. So it wasn't to the star any kind of submission. It was really just unconditional love. Seeing the potential spark in a heart to activate that was rare to the star. So it was almost like a mutual, like, yeah, let's do this. I got you, you got me, But one way was, to help, and the other way was to control. So it was very interesting. So then, once you capture a star, the rarest star, he was like high off of just that. And you don't even have to, you just inhale and you have like energy for hours. It's really like a drug, I guess you could say, in some ways, like an energy drug. They definitely get addicted to it. Otherwise, why would they keep doing it? It's almost like they've done it for so long that they don't even know they could just sustain it themselves if they just took the time and not be so lazy. So he actually lowers his guard enough because he had to, or so he thought, like on a logical level, to get this rare star, I have to be at this level with them so they feel that I truly need help. But what's funny is that because it's like he thought he was catching a star, but the rare star actually caught him, Very, very, very cool. But, so he catches the star and he immediately treats them bad. He, puts them in the basement, treats them like the rest, basically. And what he found interesting is that the star didn't mind. And the star didn't mind because the star knew that he doesn't understand right now what it's really all about. He doesn't understand the obligation of a star. He believes that the star's ability to not really care that he's a jerk sometimes because she knows what he's capable of, he thinks that makes her weak or something. Like, he views that as a weakness, like something that's easily controllable, but really in the star's perception is, they're just chilling. Like, I came here to help. If this is where you want me, because really a star has so much love, and they're so full of love that it doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter if they're in a basement, like, I'm here because I want to help you. That's why I'm here. If you feel like I can help you, so then I'm sorry to see someone walking down the street who decided to turn around. So then, so that's like the dynamic between them. He's under this false illusion that he's all powerful and he got a rare star, and the star's under the impression like, I'm here to be of service. I allowed you to catch me because I could see that you're in pain and I want to help you. So it's very funny. So as time goes on, years go by, because this rare star had the unconditional love and vision to see the heart of King Baba, the true heart of King Baba, he slowly started to fall in love with her, or the star, because the star wasn't like anyone else. The star was not like the other stars in the sense that this star chose to be there. This star chose to let him have his path, but still help. So King Baba could run amok, but in the end, this rare star had the vision to see his ultimate potential that he could not see because he would never allow himself to see that. So he got really addicted to that, a codependency on that warm feeling that he's never felt before, that the star provided, that came from within. It didn't come from harvesting the star's energy. It didn't come from anything the star could do for him outside, like magically, whatever, manifest stuff. It came from just being around them in their light, in their love. The warmth that he felt in his heart made the spark return. Even if it's just a little spark in a dark heart, that is very successful, because for him to feel that level of security or safety with someone, or to be vulnerable, was something he's never ever done before. But in this story, what's really sad about it, and it's gonna make me cry, is that even though King Baba loved the star so much, and he even let the star come up above the little dungeon area and eat dinner with him, and sit together and sit by the fire and have conversations and laugh, he looked at that as a way to harvest energy. He didn't equate that to love, because he's never felt love before. So he thought that he was still fooling the star, but the star knew that he never felt it before, and the star knew that he would never find another star like this one, because it's a high-ranking rare star. And so the star's ability to love unconditionally without expectation for anything for themselves led Baba to believe that he had ultimate control over this star. But that was an illusion he created, because really he needed the star to feel whole, and he didn't realize that, because what happened was there was some kind of commotion happened. It was some kind of rebellion for some other. King Baba made a lot of enemies, and he stole from a lot of people, from a lot of tribes or other species in the galaxy, anything he wanted. He's a tyrant. He didn't care. He would laugh. It made him feel powerful. That's what he thought love is. Control, I guess. And so some rebellion happened, and the castle got attacked, and all he cared about in this rebellion, where everything was crashing down, and he was really getting what he gave out finally, someone rebelled against him. And the rare star was the only star that he, had to protect. But when it came down to it, the rare star was like, he's trying to take the star and escape somewhere so he can have the star forever. And the star said, you know that this is the end. And, this whole time he had promised the star, like, I promise I love you so much, I'll release you. I love you so much. You're the only thing that ever showed me love. He would say these things, and he thought he was pretending, because that's how he did with other stars. But the idea of losing the star, he realized if he let the star go, it was the one thing that was making him feel full, feel whole. And he didn't realize that until it was time to let the star go. And instead of letting the star go, he killed the star. He killed the star because he didn't want anyone else to feel that love that the star made him feel. And he ended up dying. Right after he killed the star, he killed himself. And he selfishly thought that was love. He couldn't handle the star loving anybody else the way that the star made him feel. But he didn't realize that the star was just showing him an example of what self-love would feel like if you just allow love into your heart, to know you're worthy of love, and that love exists, and that love triumphs over evil every time. No matter how rich you have, how much sex you have, how much energy you harvest, it's never going to equate to the fullness of one spark of love in your heart. It's not. And that's why you keep chasing and chasing and chasing something that makes you feel good for a second, instead of going within and learning that love comes from within. And the star was just an example of something you could have gave yourself, and the star could have taught him that. But he was so blinded by his own inability to see his own worth because of the way he was raised as a shapeshifter, where you just take what you want, basically narcissism. And so he didn't have the ability to know what he thinks is different from how he feels. Oh, it's so sad. And so the tether that binds King Baba in every life is his inability to allow himself to feel, to distinguish between his thoughts and how he feels, and to have enough self-worth and love for yourself to know that everyone's worthy of love. But if you don't allow yourself to feel it, then your heart will always be dark, and it will want dark things, and it will make you do dark things that you might not even really want to do. So that's it. That's the story of King Baba. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.